Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Innu Cree, and Dakota peoples, and the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Neil Harden. I'm chairing today's panel. With me are Carrie Linklater and Brent McIntyre. The assessor today is Clayton Diachin, and the administrative personnel is Phoebe Graywood. We will be hearing applications for revision of the business assessment role in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act and the City of Winnipeg Charter. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we'll limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony. Anyone speaking in the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments are not considered evidence of market value by the board. The board is appointed annually by council and is independent of it in the city administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order to be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to applications of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following a swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions the applicant may have, then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application is being brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. We'll be hearing items 1 through 5 on the docket today. Ms. Graywood, please affirm the assessor's and applicant's testimony.
Mr. Deitchen, please state your full name.
Clayton Deitchen.
Do you affirm the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Mr. Smith, please state your full name.
Trevor Smith.
Do you affirm the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Our first property today is 1400 McPhillips Street, which I believe is Gauthier Cheval or Chev. No more Oldsmobile. So Mr. Diachin, you can begin.
So this is file number 24-4773. The roll year is 2025. Address is 1400 McPhillips. Business assessment ID is 2083. You can see on page 1, there's actually 3 premises for this building. The first one being the main floor. The second one being this the mezzanine second floor area, and then the third one being the basement area. We are actually looking into it. From my understanding, that these generally have a combined area for mezzanine and or main floor and upper floor. So we are looking into it, but I feel like as the rates are today, they are still accurate. Even if we blended those two together, the PID 1 and 2, the blended rate would be about, I think I calculated $12.30 a square foot. Overall, our blended rate is $11.91. So I think overall our rate is still very sound. For this property, continuing on, our total ARV is $924,480. This property, the gross floor area you can see on page 1 is 63,994. It is a dealership built in 1990 to 2006 with an effective age of 2000. Page 2, you can see an exterior photo of the property. Page 3 is an overhead view, along with page 4 is an overhead map view. Page 5, you can kind of see what I was speaking about. Here's the main show floor with the upper area to the left side. And page 6, I believe, is the upper area. It was kind of hard to determine, but it looks like it's the upper area. Photo, again, page 7 is just another shot of this, the show floor with the upper area there. Page 8 is I guess the service portion where you drive your car in for service. Page 9 is the basement area, from my understanding, and it's more of a car museum with some offices, it looks like, around the outer edges. Getting on to page 10 is the border revision order. So you can see for the 2025 realty, it was reduced from $10,943,000 to $9,886,000. And on page 11, you can see that this decision was based on the NOI presented by the Assessment and Taxation Department with a cap rate of 7.25%. So you can see that our rents were confirmed for this property. And then on pages 12 to 15 are my VCD comparables, mainly looking at the comparables 61 to 72, as these are, I would say, the closest proximity. You can see that some are right next to it on 1399 McPhillips, 1371 McPhillips, but you can see that the average is about 1515, with a weighted average of 1451 and a median of 1350. And again, these are retail big box store comparables, as that's what we use for these VCDs. As we can see on page 16, I just put the municipal board order that spoke about using retail stores as comparables to VCDs. And yeah, and then on pages 17, 18, 19, 20 are just the applicant's information from the realty appeal. See the comparables. You can see that they applied a total overall rate on page 20 of 1126 blended. We were at 1191 blended, very close in rental rates. And then the following pages are just the income and expense mailers, and that is my evidence. Thank you.
Okay, questions, Mr. Smith?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. If I may suggest, I have a number of questions that would be applicable to all of our properties that we're looking at here today, as they're all automotive dealers. So if we could carry some of my questions forward from the first property to the others.
All right.
If that's fair. Having said that, I have to lead with a different question. So looking at the cover page of your report here, and the premise areas. So the property is divided into 3 areas by the city, I see. And I believe you had said the first one is the main floor, the second one is mezzanine, and then the third one is the basement area, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, when I had asked that question in the realty appeal of the assessor, they were unsure of what each of those areas were. Just wondering why that would be, I guess. She was unable to provide an explanation as to what the three areas were. Obviously, it's obvious what the main floor is, but she didn't know what the other 2 were.
I can't speak to what she knows or doesn't know, or
I'm just wondering, and I understood that's an awkward question, and to put from my part, I understand on your side. But if she's unable to inform the board what those areas were, could that impact what they decide based on what those, not knowing what those rates apply to?
I can't answer that question.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Thank you. My second question, and again, this is, I think this one applies for all of the properties. So I did go through the briefs and I noted that you've included excerpts from my realty appeal. Just wondering why the applicant's evidence is included in the city's brief?
Yeah, it's just to show that where you are at and where we are at, and essentially the board order was based on your evidence, my evidence, so it's just to show all the information.
Okay, fair enough. So for the properties before us today, including this one, given workload, have you been able to inspect any of the properties?
No, I have not.
Okay. And the valuation here is model driven, correct?
That's correct.
And the rates that are applied here for the business, are they identical to the rates that were applied for the realty?
That is correct.
And we'll jump forward to the rental comparables then. So I'm not sure what page number this is for the city. It's the VCD rent comparables numbers 1 through 80. These are the same rent comparables that were presented in all VCD realty appeals for 2025. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, so there's been no changes.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay, and there are I believe there are no either automotive dealers or automotive service rents in any of these individual sections, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and the area, or rather the comps that we're looking at here, the city has divided them up into areas of the city, correct?
That's correct.
And the rent comps that we're looking at are all medium to big box retail is what we're looking at, correct? So
Yeah, mainly retail, couple fitness, like a couple entertainment.
and the comps themselves are located on big box power center anchored developments by and large, correct?
They're close to shopping center nodes. I don't know specifically the way you worded it. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. And just beyond the rental comparables, the city has included a municipal board order from 2003, which states supermarkets, discount stores, department stores, are chain restaurants are to be used according to this particular order in valuing automotive dealers due to the lack of automotive rents, I believe, that were presented in that decision. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. The city is of course aware that there's a later decision from 2004 which disagrees with this particular decision, in which that decision was taken based on automotive dealership rents, some of them being book rents, some of them being arm's length, and that those were to be relied on in developing valuation for this property type, correct?
I have heard of this order, but I do not know the details, and it's not in my evidence today.
Okay, I try not to delve, as these hearings take a considerable amount of time, I try not to present every scrap of evidence every time, so I guess I assume that we don't need to fight the same battle each and every time, but this information has been presented on many occasions by both the city and appellants, correct? To the Board of
I'm not
Division.
too sure, to be honest.
I will caution Mr. Smith that the decisions today will be based on the evidence presented today.
Fair enough. I will leave my questions at that for the time being. Thank you.
Okay, questions, Ms. Linklater?
I have no questions at this time. Thank you.
Mr. McIntyre?
I have no questions, thank you.
Okay, I got a bit of a question on how the order in which you determine the ARV. It looks to me like you calculated the ARV for each section and then rounded that ARV and then totaled them to create an overall ARV. Is that correct?
I mean, I didn't personally calculate like this page, but our ARVs are always have to be divisible by 12, so they're rounded, and then yeah, they're made to be divisible by 12. So
Okay, but
I'm assuming if that's where you're getting a discrepancy on that.
yeah, I'm getting a slight discrepancy because
Yeah, it's
I totaled the individual ARVs and then rounded versus rounding first and then totaling.
yeah, I believe I'm not 100% sure how this one is calculated with the three premises, but I know it's yeah, calculated then divided by 12, rounded, and then multiplied back by 12.
Yeah,
Essentially. Yeah. So sometimes there's a bit of a discrepancy in that.
yeah, minor considering, but just gives a slightly different value. All right, Mr. Smith, you can proceed.
I do have one follow-up question, if I may, Mr.
Sure.
Chair. Okay, and it's simply that I forgot to ask this. So again, in relation to the base ARV and the areas in the rental stream, so the main floor, 40,000+ square feet, has a base rental value of $11.96 per square foot. The mezzanine area, second one, 12,000+ square feet, has a higher rental rate of $13.43 per square foot applied to that. Can you explain why the rental rate applied to the mezzanine would be higher than the main floor?
I would just guess it would be due to the size, but I can't speak to it beyond that.
If this was lumped in with the main floor as it typically is, would that would change the overall rate, would it not?
Well, like I said, if we combine the two, the blended rate would be $12.30 a square foot total, and I feel like even at that rate, that's still more than fair.
If we combined the two, we would then have 52,000+ square feet. We have 40,000 at 11.96. I'm assuming that rate would go down from there if it went up to 52,000, correct?
I can't speak to that. I'm not too
Okay.
sure.
That's all of my questions. Thank you.
Okay, your presentation then.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, there is a fair bit of material to go through. I will be as concise as I can. I'll only go through it once, and if we could carry forward that discussion to the remainder of the properties, that would probably be most efficient.
Okay.
I will, as I said, keep it as concise as possible while covering the points that needed to be covered. So to start with, the situation that both the city and appellants find themselves in is that there's about 300 plus outstanding municipal board appeals on automotive dealerships, both realty and business, with appeals from both appellants as well as the city on various appeals, obviously. The reason for this is that there's no agreement on how these properties are to be valued. There is agreement that they are to be valued on the income approach, but there is no agreement with regard to how that agreement should be conducted. Now, contributing to this strongly is the fact that there are two municipal board orders, essentially only two municipal board orders. There are some from prior to 2003, but they're significantly dated and don't really reflect the current time frame at all. But the two orders that are typically presented and that the city certainly knows of, as I've gone through numerous hearings with both of them being presented, is the one that the city has included this time, which is based on big box retail. They don't call it big box retail, they say supermarkets and discount stores and things of that nature that existed at that time frame, are to be used in valuing automotive dealerships due to the lack of rental rates for auto dealers at that time. The following year, as is not in evidence, but I'm giving verbal evidence, and again, it's been presented umpteen times before this panel, is another decision which was based on using automotive rents, automotive dealership rents, other automotive rents in valuing automotive dealerships. Now, there were some elements of book rents in that evidence, but there was also arm's length evidence, or rather arm's length leases that were included in that evidence. And the board at that time decided that that was the methodology that should be followed. So we have two discrepant, or two decisions that do not coincide, don't agree with each other. The city has in recent times elected to strictly follow the 2003 decision, but there are two decisions, and the appellants, including myself, are not entirely in agreement with either of those decisions. So there's a wide discrepancy in how these properties should be developed between the city and appellants. And that is going to be resolved coming up at the municipal board, or at least addressed at the municipal board in a test case, which I am participating in this June, with the intent of that test case to provide guidance in how to properly model and value these properties going forward. So it's not a hard agreement, but it is intended to provide guidance for the valuation of these properties. So there is nothing holding either the city or ourselves or the Board of Revision to using strictly that original 2003 decision. So just want to make it clear that that is the environment we're working in, and there is no set methodology by which these properties should be valued at this point in time. So let's jump into automotive dealerships themselves quickly. Before I delve into the property itself, I'll give you kind of the the overview of the entire of the industry, my methodology, etc. So the crux of the difficulty in valuing these properties in our current time frame is that there are exceptionally few arm's length rental rates on the market for automotive dealerships. There are no arm's length leases for mainline, full service automotive dealers, you know, your branded dealers, be it a Ford or a Mazda or a Toyota, etc. There are no arm's length dealer or leases out there. They're all owner occupied, they're all internal book rents, which are not intended to be relied upon. Now, that places both the city and ourselves in the situation where you need to look at, okay, you have a situation where there are no arm's length leases. You now need to look at what the property is and what does the market say about rental rates for similar types of properties in order to properly value this property. Now, the city says big box retail exclusively. I'll get into a discussion on that quickly in a bit, but first of all, I'll present our position. So looking at my page number 13, you can see at the top of the page here, auto dealership properties are considered to be special use properties within commercial real estate. Looking at the article that I present at the top there, which is from the Appraisal Journal, titled Peculiarities of Appraising Auto Dealership Facilities. So it states auto dealership facilities are considered special use or special purpose properties, which means that they cannot typically be assigned other uses. Next paragraph essentially repeats that in a different format. What this means is that, pardon me, the structures do not lend themselves to other uses other than automobile sales and service, and are not readily convertible to other alternative uses. As I described there, typical stages for an auto dealership are to be a full service branded new auto dealership, be it Honda, Ford, whatever. When it becomes obsolete in the marketplace for that particular purpose, it then evolves to essentially a secondary use. Sometimes they sit vacant for a considerable period of time, and they typically can become a used automobile dealership. They don't always become used auto dealerships. Sometimes they skip straight over the used auto dealership category to become essentially a redevelopment site. And there's vacancy intermittent in between these stages. Typically, often you'll see property or an auto dealership property for sale for a considerable period of time because nobody has any use for the actual structure itself. And it becomes essentially a development site. So if you go through my examples there, you'll see that the properties run through that cycle. So what does this mean? I'll also point out quickly, number 4 has been redeveloped into a multifamily site ultimately after a period of time. I'm not going to go through each of those. The material's there for you to see. You've probably already heard me speak about it. So there's not a lot of point in us covering that ground over and over. I'll leave it there for you to review. But what all of this means is that you don't have other uses typically moving into automotive dealerships when they become obsolete for their purpose. You don't have a Staples moving into property on Pembina Highway that was an auto dealership, things of that nature. It's extremely unusual for that to happen. There's one poor case on Pembina where property was purchased and a retailer moved into it, but it's a very poor building that sold at a low value, and it was simply a make use type of situation by a local owner. So what I'm saying by this particular argument here, and it's not an argument, it's accepted fact within appraisal, is that you don't see these properties typically being used for other uses, be it office, be it industrial, be it retail. It's extremely uncommon for that to happen. There may be, as I said, very, very slight exceptions to that, but the rule is that they don't get used for other things. So to that end, looking at the city's argument of big box retail being used exclusively as the closest comparable to automotive dealerships, essentially shows you that it doesn't compute entirely. If we look at the city's model, and I'll go through this in rebuttal evidence, but if you look at the city's model and the 80 comps that they have there, including the ones that are in the subject area, they're all either on big box power center anchor developments. So your developments that were built based on having your Walmarts, your Home Depots, your Real Canadian Superstores as the anchor, which then draw in the other big box tenants to locate on that site. Now, the developers do this for a reason. The anchors obviously draw a huge amount of traffic to their site, and those shoppers then go to the other big box stores on that site. The developers and the big box stores know this. They know that they will drive considerably more business for their big box operation by locating on those sites, and they're willing to pay the considerably higher rental rates that one needs to pay to be on those sites in order to drive their business. Now, if you compare that to where the auto dealers are typically located, none of them are obviously located on big box power center nodes. You simply won't find it. There's a reason for this. They won't pay the rental rates that would be demanded by the property owners for locating on those sites, nor do those owners want automotive dealers to be on their sites. So where are they located? They are located, yes, in retail areas, but they're not located on the big box site. They're not located, as some of the other comps from the city are, on enclosed mall sites such as Kildonan Place or Grant Park Shopping Center. They are located peripherally to that, so they may be on Regent, but they're down the road, across the tracks, and into a considerably different area of development, which does not have the benefit of all of the retail traffic that you have on a Kildonan Place or a Grant Park Shopping Center, Polo Park Shopping Center, etc. They're simply two different animals. So the rent that retail tenants would pay to be located in those locations, not the building, but those locations, is considerably lower than what they would pay to be located on big box power center nodes and or enclosed malls. So how do you properly value these properties then? Well, let's look at the structure, which is essentially what you're supposed to do according to appraisal theory. What is the structure and what are the uses of the structure? Well, we have two different components of the structure, essentially. If you look at my page number 15, this is discussed, but I'll keep it to a minimum here, obviously. We have the first component being the retail showroom and associated office. So that's the front portion of the building facing onto be it Regent or Portage or McPhillips. And then the second component of the property is automotive service and repair, which is typically the part at the rear of the property where you take your car to get repaired and serviced, obviously. Now, the two are structurally and aesthetically and in use completely different. And typically there's generally a hard line between the front and the rear of the property. They don't blend together where you transfer between one and the other and you don't see a distinction. There's a hard line. If you walk into the retail showroom, yes, it is built out for automotive sales. You have the display floor, you have the peripheral offices. Typically, you have podium greeters, etc. You have the lounge area for the clientele. You have the associated finance offices and admin offices. That's all in the retail showroom area. It is built out as such and is serviced as such with air conditioning, etc., etc. Typically, often there's a second floor mezzanine area, as there is here. It forms part of the whole. It isn't a separate area that one would lease as, say, an 11,000 square foot or 12,000 square foot area on the marketplace at a standard office rental rate for that area or something. It forms a part of the contiguous whole of that retail showroom. That is the front. Then you move backwards in the property and you get again into the automotive service and repair. And again, there's a hard line between these. Typically, there is a wall and you go into that area, and obviously it's concrete floors, drainage, bare walls, bare ceilings, and all the associated service mechanics, or rather mechanical equipment required to service cars. You'll have overhead drive-in doors on multiple parts of the rear section of the property. It is serviced entirely differently. They are not air conditioned, etc. The use and the structure and the build out of the property are completely different. So how then do you value those components? Well, the city, I would say, is not wrong in looking to retail in valuing the front retail showroom part. That is the best apple to this orange, as another assessor has referred to it, in looking at that front portion of the building. But then we have the automotive service and repair, and clearly it makes no sense, no logical sense, to apply a retail rate to the automotive service and repair area of these buildings. As I mentioned, it would never happen. You're not getting a big box retailer moving into these properties. It simply doesn't compute. The use is completely different. So to say that a rent that Staples or Ashley would pay on a site adjacent to Polo Park or to the subject area can be transferred to that rear section of the building makes no logical sense. It makes no sense in appraisal and should not be followed. So what we need to do for that section of the building is, of course, look to the market and see what automotive service and repair properties are renting for on the market. Now, the challenge there is that there are a limited number of larger automotive service and repair arm's length tenancies on the market. We include the detail on as many as we can in the marketplace, and they certainly do provide guidance. We also provide a broad spectrum of arm's length leases for automotive service and repair in the market in order to look at what the market applies to the whole spectrum and then make an informed decision from looking at that evidence. So that is the methodology that we follow. It is the methodology that I've followed for quite a number of cycles now. And it was indeed the exact same information that I presented in all of our realty appeals in the 2025 cycle, including for the properties before us here today. The subject property, now that we've covered the background, let's dive into the subject property itself. So as already mentioned, we're looking at the Jim Gauthier Chev operation at 1400 McPhillips. The cover page of my brief gives you an exterior photo of the property. And we can get into some further photos in a minute. Page number 3 gives you background on the subject property. Yes, there was a 2025 realty decision, which the city has presented. We have appealed this decision to the municipal board. And are obviously waiting scheduling following the test case. Further background on the property, it is older. A very large component of it was built in 1990. So certainly older as far as the dealership goes. There was an addition done in 2006. And there was a basement that was originally constructed for the property, which is a bit unusual, certainly. In the marketplace, you don't typically find basement space being leased out. Yes, there are exceptions to the rule, and one can find them, but it's very uncommon, and certainly this particular use is uncommon. But the space is there, it is utilized, and there should be a value placed on it. But again, it would not be at a rental rate that might be comparable to main floor space, and certainly would be reflective of the basement siting of that particular area. Land to plan area ratio for the subject property, 4.9 to 1. This is significantly smaller than automotive dealers are typically looking for in the current market and going forward. Typically, we're looking for 8 to 1. They need the land area to display their vehicles for sale. They need the area for storage of vehicles that are in for service. They need the area for staff parking and obviously circulation on site. 4.9 is certainly on the small side. Which does limit them somewhat in this location. Our total overall area, 63, almost 64,000 square feet. You can see the ground area is over 52,000 square feet, and then you have the basement of 11,840. Moving on to the photos on page 4, some exterior photos on pages 4 and 5. We can skip forward to the interior on page number 6. So the top of page 6 is the showroom itself. This was built in 1990. You can see that there is some mezzanine area. The bottom of page 6 shows you the mezzanine area. It is again original to the property. You can see that from the build out as evidenced by the carpet on page number 7. Again, this is admin area. Some storage at the bottom of page 7, and then we get into the automotive service repair area. So you can see the very distinct difference between the front and the rear of the property on pages 8 and 9. Really no comparison between that structure and a retail comparable. Property location is shown on page number 11. Pardon me. And the site is shown on page number 10. So it's on the corner of Maple Glens. Let's move forward into the actual valuation itself. So I'll get you to jump forward to my page number 16. As I had mentioned, there are not a lot of particularly large automotive service and repair facilities that are leased at arm's length in the Winnipeg market at this time frame. So we do present a broader perspective, but I'll highlight a number of these for you. Number one, and again, I'm not gonna run through 17 of them, but I'll highlight a few. Number one, 120 King Edward. This is a Boyd Auto location, 15,000+ square feet, located on Route 90, just to the north of Portage Avenue and west of Polo Park. 2018 lease for $8.50 a square foot. This would expire around the time frame of the valuation date, so that would probably come up slightly from where that particular rental rate is. The second one, 1870 King Edward, also on Route 90, just under 18,000 square feet. You have a 2019 lease there at $10.15 a square foot. This is an automotive repair facility. I will jump down to numbers 4 through 6. The reason I'm pointing these three out are it's essentially an automotive strip mall that's located immediately adjacent to all of the automotive dealerships on Regent Avenue. So you have three tenancies there between 2,000 and 2,400 square feet, essentially 2018 and 2019 leases between $7.94 a square foot and $12 per square foot at the upper end, all for 5-year terms. Now, those would again go up slightly from where they were as well. Obviously 22,000, 2,400 square feet is going to be significantly smaller than what the actual automotive service area is for a facility such as this. So economies of scale do come into play. Proper rental rate to be applied to the subject property would not be in line with a 2,000 square foot tenancy, but it does give you perspective on location in relation to automotive dealers and what is being paid in that particular auto service category. Let's jump down quickly. I'll point out the high end, number 9, 123 Fort. This is a Fountain Tire service location, just under 9,000 square feet, 2018 lease for 10 years at $13 a square foot. Now, they pay $13 a square foot because it's located directly downtown. It's incredibly convenient for the density of office workers downtown to drop their car off, pick it up at the end of the day. They're located half a block north of Broadway and a block in from Main Street. So ideal location. That's the top end of the market. Let's drop down a bit. Number 13. This is an arm's length lease at the time. Didn't last the whole time frame, I don't believe. $12.50 per square foot for 7,200 square feet. This is a used auto dealer location at that time frame. So in 2017 for a 4-year span. Bottom of the page, 16, 2554 Portage. This is a client of mine. They used it as a used auto dealer location. It's the corner of Moray and Portage Avenue. It's the former Mercedes dealership, 23,000 square feet. So overall auto sales and service. 2015 lease for 5 years at $750. Now, they saw out their lease, but they did not continue as that location significantly underperformed for them, and there was really not a lot of business value there for them. So they, pardon me, they vacated it at the end of their lease, and it's now put to another use. And then finally, bottom of the page, number 17, 1322 Waverly. This is the premium used auto dealer in the city, not Auto Corp. Just over, 27,603 square feet. This is automotive sales. Excellent location in Southwest Winnipeg. Leased in 2018 for 5-year term at $6.85 a square foot. The caveat on that property is that the tenant was required to do all of their build out for their use in that particular facility. So that the owner did not invest their own money into the build out of the property for the tenant. tenant had to do that themselves. So of course, that 685 rate would obviously be higher than that in a typical situation. That is shown on page 17, just for background. So the corner of Waverly and McGilvery. So that is automotive. Typically, you're looking between, call it 7 and 1250 at the very upper end for considerably smaller spaces. Let's jump forward to showroom retail. Now, the challenge here is to find properties that are in similar locations to automotive dealers in the city. So that's what we've done. They're not all going to be lined up on McPhillips adjacent to where our dealers are, but what we've done here is present a broad perspective of what big box type retailers in more similar locations will pay for spaces on the market as of the time frame. So let's run through these. I'll point out a few highlights, certainly. I'm just going to point out one in particular. To start with, if you look at number 12, 2535 McPhillips. This is a Shapes co-ed location, relatively recently built, 2006 and 7, 2016 lease for 10 years at a rental rate of $11.50 a square foot. Now that space is 24,367 square feet. Now, why do I point this one out in particular? Because it's immediately across the road from some of our properties on the docket here today, and in very close proximity to others. So they're paying $11.50 per square foot for that space as of that time frame. I'll jump back quickly here. Again, we're not going to cover all of these, but I will hit some highlights. First one, 1520 Regent Avenue, number 1. This is a Leon's Furniture location. It's on the very far end of retail development prior to the train tracks on Regent, before you go over the train tracks and get into the automotive area. So Leon's Furniture location, 2021 lease for 10 years at $14 a square foot, 26,000+ square feet. This is shown on page number 19. Following that, immediately adjacent to this, number 3, 1540 Regent. This is Staples location, 23,000+ square feet, 2020 lease at $10.25 a square foot. Now, this is again shown, I think, on the following page, number 2, or rather number 20. You can see that these are very peripheral to the big box location at, or rather the Power Center node location, and or the Kildonan Place location on the other side of the road. Being within a kilometer or something is not the same as being on the site of these particular developments. I will try and limit this here so that, again, we're not looking at every comp. I'll point you to 2 on Portage Avenue, which are out near the end of Portage Avenue, where where some of the retail or rather auto dealers are, numbers 5 and 6, 28 and 20,000 square feet, Princess Auto and Giant Tiger, 2017 and 2019 leases at $11 and $13.50 a square foot. Good indicators. Moving down, we have another redevelopment of a demalling essentially of the Port Richmond Shopping Center at 2860 Pembina Highway, numbers 10 and 11. We have PV Mart for 33,000 square feet, Dollarama for 15, 2018 and 2020 leases at $10.50 and $15.54 per square foot at the high end. Following that, number 12 is your McPhillips one that I pointed out. And we can drop down then to my numbers 22 and 23. The reason I point this one out is, again, their location in proximity to to automotive dealers. So 1290 Keniston is an intentional redevelopment of a former industrial building located on the corner of Keniston and Lawson, I believe, is the loop there. There are 3 brand new auto dealerships, 2 of them immediately north of 1290 Keniston, that are Birchwood locations, and immediately south of this is the new Mercedes development. Now, these are as noted there, 10,000 square feet, 15,000 square feet. You can see what the tenancies are. They're not national brands, but they're good local brands. We have 2016 leases there at $12 and $12.50 a square foot. Now, I don't have the updated information on the steps for those particular leases, but they have increased marginally since that time. So I believe we're in the $13.50 per square foot range for those particular tenancies as of the valuation date. So the following pages give you an aerial and a frontal view of each of these comps. You can see why I've selected them. We've gone through that detail. The range for showroom retail, again, you're looking at kind of that low end of, call it $10 a square foot, up to your upper end of call it $15 per square foot, with a lot falling in between in the $12-13 per square foot range. Now, let's jump forward. I'll leave you to review those photos and aerials for yourself when you wish. My page 25 summarizes this background with regard to the rental rates, and what I've done here to provide an example to guide the panel is to give you an example of how to look at valuing this property. Now, I have applied an overall rate to the property, taking into account the information that we've had. I haven't split it out exactly in this way, as we don't have the individual measurements, nor for this particular purpose do I think that's appropriate. We're looking at an overall number, but in order to provide a frame of reference for valuing it, I give you this example. So if you had a 100 square foot building, you look at these auto dealers, typically they're 60 to 70% automotive service repair and 30 to 40% showroom retail. Now, if you look at my example here, I've followed those guidelines. I've given you 60 feet for automotive repair, 40 for showroom retail. If you apply whatever rates you feel are appropriate, but if you applied $10 a square foot, and again, if we look at the subject property, 52,000 square feet of main floor space, 60% of that being automotive repair, that's a 30,000 plus square foot area, call it, significantly larger than the comps that I've provided. Economies of scale certainly come into play. So in this example, I've applied $10 a square foot to the automotive repair and then $15 a square foot to the showroom retail. If you combine those two, you come out with a combined weighted rental average of $12 per square foot. Certainly neither of those particular rents are on the low end of the scale, and combined it gives you an overall $12 per square foot. Now, looking at the subject property, well, we have one of the larger facilities in the city at 64,000 square feet, almost 52,000 square feet on main and mezzanine. That being said, it's well located on McPhillips in its particular location, and we have applied an overall rental rate of $12 per square foot to that main and mezzanine area. So that takes into account the the front and rear of the building overall. Now, add to that, there's the basement area of 11,840 square feet. Now, yes, it's essentially utilized as display space for the owner's historic vehicles. They also do make some use of that basement for delivery of new cars to owners when they purchase them. But it's a highly unusual space and would certainly go for very low end of what one would see on the marketplace. You've got 12,000 square feet of basement, essentially, whether it's built out with tile or not, it's still in the basement. We've applied a net rental rate of $8 a square foot to the space for that reason, which is in keeping with how it's been valued in past cycles as well. So that averages out overall to 1126, a rental rate, and we can move forward on the expense side. We are not in dispute with the expenses applied, so if we add that to our annual rental income, as on page 27, we come to a total rounded final ARV of $882,984. The addenda materials include the income and expense, it's owner occupied, you have the valuation stream from the city of Winnipeg. I have given you the built out, or rather the dates of construction of the individual components here. So the 2006 edition is a total of 650 square feet. The remainder of the building was built in 1990, and I think I can't make that out, maybe 1996 for section 3. So considerably older building, which should also be taken into account. I've included on A7 the decision from the last cycle, which was based on our valuation of the property. The remainder of the addenda includes supportive 2025 realty decisions that are based on my valuation of individual auto dealerships. And I've included that information for you there. That is my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, questions, Mr. Dychen?
Just a couple of quick ones. I guess on page 25, the rent that you applied for the mezzanine, main area, and basement. Can you speak a little bit more on how you came to those rental rates?
Certainly. So the again, it's an overall rate that has been applied. I've looked at the front section of the building, showroom retail with the mezzanine office as well, and looked at the retail comparables that the market has for me that I've included in my brief here. And then we're looking at the automotive repair section of the building separately from that. Obviously, it's very significant in terms of size, well beyond what the market has to show us. So that needs to be taken into account in determining what would be an appropriate rate for that. And we've applied an overall rate to the auto dealership.
So the rental rates, I guess, essentially are based off the comps solely then.
I'm sorry?
The rental rates applied then are based solely off the comparables that you listed here today?
Yes, they're based on the market information that is presented.
Are any of these comparables basement, or do they have any basement space?
Well, I certainly can't state categorically whether they do or not, as I've been in many of them, but I have not, went through them to determine whether they have basement space. As I said, this is a very unusual situation to have both a basement and a basement of this size.
And I think you kind of spoke to it a little bit. I'm not going to specifically look at certain comps, but you said that some of them expired, some of them had steps. Would having these updated leases and yeah, maybe they're a dollar or two or more, whatever they are, would that possibly affect the rental rate applied here today for this property?
No, in my opinion, it wouldn't, and that was the reason that I mentioned them, is that we recognize that in a few situations there are comps where we don't have either the new tenancy and the rental rate for it, or what the renewal was, or whether that tenant indeed carried on. I've mentioned where I know that the rental rates have risen. I've also mentioned that typically you'll see a certain increase from some of those. But when we look at the range that we're looking at and our overall rate and our example for the panel, no, I don't believe that would affect. We've taken it into account in our overall rate that's applied.
Okay. I think you mentioned that dealerships have the vehicle service area portion to it, and that's not really comparable to retail. But wouldn't you agree, looking at the retail, even your retail comps, like such as Leon's Furniture, Giant Tiger, Staples, that they all have warehouse space, loading docks and such that have minimal finishes that would be pretty comparable to a service garage?
I take your point, and I, in the interest of time, skipped over that particular part of my presentation, which I think is on page number 14. So yes, big box retailers do have an element of warehousing, but if you look at my example on page 14, which is a typical example of big box retail, is, you know, call it 80 to 90% of the floor space of one of these big box tenants is selling floor, with the balance being a minimal amount of warehousing with loading dock, etc. Now, I've walked through many of these stores, and that's exactly how they're set up. They have their product on the floor, not in the back in warehousing. So it's not the same situation, and the use certainly is again different.
Okay. No further questions, thanks.
Okay, questions, Mr. McIntyre,
I have no questions, thank you.
Ms. Linklater.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay, I have no questions either. So at this point, let's take a break till 10:15. We'll come back and do the other properties.
Certainly, Mr. Chair, I do have a rebuttal, but I'm happy to do it after the break.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Welcome back. Mr. Smith, you had a rebuttal on this property?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be brief and concise about this. Again, the rebuttal is actually for all of the properties here today, as you can see on the title page. So if my comments could be carried forward to the remainder of the properties, that would
Sure.
help us time-wise, I'm sure. So what I've done in the rebuttal is simply look at the city's retail big box comparables. The city's broken them into, I think, 6 areas, perhaps 7. And what I've done is to assist the panel in determining their evaluation is list what those tenancies are and where they're located. So I'll run through this quickly. If we look at page number 1, this is numbers 1 through 13. These are the Regent area comparables. If you look at the aerial at the top, you can see numbers 4 through 9 are on the power center node there, which is the Crossroads Station Shopping Center. Now, Crossroads Station Shopping Center has Walmart, Superstore, and either Home Depot or Rona, I think it's Home Depot, as their anchors. So 3 actual full anchors with a very wide variety of big box stores built out on site there. Now, the tenants that they that they have there. You're looking at Mark's Work Warehouse, Best Buy, Ashley, Sport Check, Michaels, Vetland, Save on Foods, etc. Across the road, we have Kildonan Place Shopping Center. So again, fully anchored Canadian Tire. There's a grocery there, I believe, enclosed mall situation. So you can see the national tenancies that we're looking at here, and by and large, these comps are all on those two sites with some small exceptions. Obviously, that's going to drive a higher rental rate. We can jump forward, second page. Polo Park Shopping Center area, numbers 14 through 26. You can see the national tenancies again, Staples, Michaels, Vetland, Best Buy, Old Navy, Save on Foods, Marshalls, etc., etc. They're either located on the Polo Park site itself, as numbers 23 through 25 are, or immediately across the road, which are also anchored sites. Quite clearly, these will draw higher rental rates than areas that are not on a site like that. I'm going to jump back very quickly. The first one, Regent Avenue, and this is an excellent visual, and I forgot to mention it. If you look at the aerial photo here, Regent Lajmoje intersection is on towards the left-hand side there. If you follow Regent along, past all the big box development, past Costco, you cross the train tracks, and then you come to where the auto dealers are a little bit further on there. Now, we had one comp that was in that exact area, which is obviously showing lower rental rates. So they are not on these sites, they're in retail areas, but they're down the road. Let's jump forward quickly. Page 3 is just the Southwest Winnipeg ones. You're looking at Grant Park Shopping Center or Pembina Crossing for the most part, with a few exceptions. What I will point out, Shoppers Drug Mart is at least 3 of these sites, perhaps more. We also have Winners, Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries, all national tenancies. The Shoppers Drug Mart leases were driven by a particular build out that they required, which drove a considerably higher rental rate in the marketplace than one would typically find. Following that, page 4, Kenniston and McGilvery, as well as the IKEA and Seasons of Tuxedo development. So you're looking at Smart Centers, Winnipeg Southwest, Kenniston Common, Bridgewater Town Center, for the most part. So immediately surrounding that, Kenniston and McGilvery interchange. You have all of the Smart Center and other big box developments obviously anchored. You also have Costco there. One of these is a Cineplex location, also Shoppers Drug Mart. And you can see that they are on those anchored power center nodes. If you travel north from Kenniston, McGilvery, again, cross the train tracks, past the snow storage pile, up to Lowson Crescent. You then have 3 dealerships that are newly built in that area. It's all industrial in that area. There is no, aside from the comp that I showed, which is in between the developments at 1290 Kenniston, it is not retail development, and obviously rates would be considerably lower. You can see again the tenancies that are there. We'll jump forward. Page 5 is McPhillips and Leela Power Center. So again, we're looking at Garden City Shopping Center and Garden City Square, as well as Northgate Shopping Center as being the location of these sites. The bulk of these properties are located to the north of Leela, and certainly not surrounded by retail like that. One exception, and it doesn't factor hugely into the valuation here, is 1400 being located across from Northgate, also built in 1990. And then finally, page 6, this is the former Unicity site. Again, cities used 6 comps on that location, all national tenancies. Sobeys, Winners, et cetera, Shoppers Drug Mart. These tenants pay considerably more rent to be located on that particular anchored site. So it needs to be kept in mind what the information that is being presented to you is, what it reflects in determining what a fair rental rate would be. That is my rebuttal. Thank you.
Okay, questions, Mr. Diachin?
I guess just one quick one on page, I guess mainly like on page 6, the Leland McPhillips ones. You quickly went over it, but correct me if I'm wrong, the subject is directly across the street from 71 and 72. And I guess with the bulk being just down the street a few minutes away.
Yes, that's correct.
That's all, thanks.
Okay, any questions, Ms. Linklater?
I have no questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. McIntyre?
I have no questions, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then let's move on to 2400 McPhillips. So, Mr. Diachin, you can begin.
Oh, sorry, I actually had a bit of rebuttal for the previous one.
Oh,
It
do
kind
you?
of applies to all of them. Yeah, it's just a quick table that I,
Oh, okay. I didn't see it in
yeah,
our
sorry, it was kind of
SharePoint.
a bit late.
Okay. Hey, Ms. Graywood, can you let us know when it's in the SharePoint?
I just put it in there. I'm just gonna refresh it, and then if you refresh it as well, it might be.
Okay. And oh, 40 minutes ago.
I have it now.
Yep. Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Diachin.
Yeah, it's just a quick table. It was actually a much longer document, but I didn't realize that I can't put the mailers in for these properties that weren't appealed because it's not public record. That was news to me. So anyways, quickly looking through these, just looking at the comparables. You can see comparable 120 King Edward actually has multiple steps since the start date, with the current step being at $11 a square foot at April 1, 2023. Comparable 831 Scurfield was actually the new lease. Well, it was December 31st, 2021 at 1150. Comparable 11 231 Oak Point. There was a new lease done in October or starting September 1st, 2021 at $10.05. Comparable 13 3680 Portage. There was a new lease that started August 1st, 2020 at $15, and then comparable 16, a lease starting in October 1st, 2020 at $12.95 with the effective, I guess the effective date of December 31st, 2022. And then going on to the retail portion, just quickly, mainly looking at the comparables 22 and 23 because the applicant did mention that there was steps. So I looked, and the steps as of December 31st, 2022 are $15 and $14.50 respectively. So I guess just mainly looking at these and showing that a number of comparables have gone up since this table was created, and therefore I would think that would affect the rental rates applied. And that's all, thanks.
Okay, questions, Mr. Smith?
Yes, just a couple, I guess. I noticed the areas are not included in your chart here.
That's correct.
Okay. I guess my overall comment would be, I think this coincides pretty well with what I've presented. I do have, I guess, further evidence on 3680 Portage Avenue, which relates to our 3690, which we deal with today. So 3690 is an owned facility where it's a Mazda dealership, and the franchisee, or the owner of the dealership was told by Mazda due to the size of their 3690 property that they needed to immediately locate and build out a repair facility in the immediate vicinity beside 3690, or they would lose their franchise of the Mazda dealership. So they were under duress. They leased out 3680 Portage Avenue. The owner was aware of this particular situation and they charged them about an above market rental rate at $15 a square foot. On as you can see, a very short-term basis. That's the background. That is all of my comments. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. McIntyre, any questions on the rebuttal?
I have no questions, thank you.
Ms. Linklater?
I have no questions, thank you.
Okay, now we shall move on to 2400 McPhillips. So, Mr. Diachin.
So I'm just pulling it up real quick. Okay, yeah, so this one is file number 24-4777, really is 2025. The address is 2400 McPhillips, business assessment ID is 33757. You can see on page 1, it is one premise, 41,902 square feet at a rental rate of $12.77 a square foot. With the occupancy cost brings the ARV to 638,460. On the bottom of page 1, you can see this is a dealership built in 2003 to 2022, with effective year built of 2006. Page 2, you can see the exterior view of the property. Page 3 is just an overhead view, with page 4 being an overhead view with the map view of it. And then again on page 5 is the border revision order. You can see that it was reduced for the Realty 2025 from $8,058,000 to $6,947,000. And this is based on page 6, the board's conclusion. The decision is based on the evidence provided by the applicant, or by both applicant and assessment and taxation department, based on the NOI presented by the assessment and taxation department with a cap rate of 7.25%. Again, looking on my page 7 and 40, or the VCD comparables, again, mainly focusing on the comparables 61 to 72, being the Leela and McPhillips comparables, with an average of 1515, rated at average of 1451 and a median of 1350. I feel like we are well in line with those. Again, page 11 is the municipal board order speaking about the comparable, or comparing retail and car dealerships. And then again on pages 12 forward are the applicant's information from the 2025 Realty. You can see that on page 15 they applied $12. We're at $12.77, very close once again. And then pages 16 and forward are just the income expense mailers, and that is my evidence. Thank you.
Any questions, Mr. Smith?
Just one or two, really. The comparables in the immediate area, Leela and McPhillips, you stated, so that's 61 to 72. And the average and weighted average, there are 1515 and 1451 per square foot. Okay, just wanted to point that out, I guess. That's my only question. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Linklater, any questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
Mr. McIntyre?
I have no questions, just one comment. So this brief is basically, your comparisons are the same as the first brief?
Comparables, yeah. They'll be the same for all these properties today.
And does that apply for the rest of them too?
It's the same tables. I might use a different range of comparables, but it's the same tables that I use.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, so Mr. Smith, you can begin.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. As always, if we can carry my questions from the first property forward to the remaining ones, but I know we've already done so. 2400 McPhillips. We are looking at the Pontiac Buick GMC Cadillac location. Now, you can see a frontage photo on the front of my brief there. And we can move into my page number 3. Now, obviously, all of my discussion from the first property is intended to carry forward. I'll point out any particular wrinkles that we need to pay attention to, but suffice it to say, all of the comps are the same, all city comps are the same. None of the information has changed from the realty presentation to the business presentation here. Now, looking at my page number 3, 2025 ARV is shown. 2025 realty was reduced from just over 8 million to 6,947,000. We have appealed this on behalf of the owner to the municipal board. Property is zone C2, sitting on 4.2 acres. We have a total area of 41,902 square feet, of which 5,190 square feet is mezzanine space. This gives us a land to plan area ratio of 5.0 to 1. Now, again, this is on the low end in terms of desirability from an automotive dealership in the current day. Typically, we're looking for 8 to 1 in order to properly service their needs, as already stated. The property was actually built, there were 2 time frames, 2003, and then there was a smaller addition put on in 2022. The addition in 2022 was 7,050 square feet. And if you look at my cover page, the addition is the Cadillac showroom on the south side of that property, so the left side of that photo. Cadillac demanded that they have their own separate showroom. Again, you won't represent us if you don't build this. So they put on the additional showroom in 2022. That is the difference. So we're looking at just over 7,000 square feet out of 41,902 square feet, with the balance being built in 2003. Let's get into the photos, page number 4. So exteriors, again, you can see the exterior of the Cadillac, exterior of the service area at the back of the property. Get into the main showroom on page 5. Which is of its time frame. It has not been significantly updated from that time. Again, you'll see the exact same carpet, I will point out, in the supportive admin office area on the mezzanine, some staff areas. Bottom of page 7 is the Cadillac showroom. And the Cadillac showroom again on page number 8 at the top. That's just the client reception area kind of. Then we get into the service area of the property at the bottom of page 8 onto page 9. Very clearly distinct from the remainder of the property. Now, location of the property, page 11. If you look here, you can see where Garden City Shopping Center is located at Leela and McPhillips. The subject property and the balance of the McPhillips properties today are located to the north of McPhillips. So they're not in that retail node of either Garden City Shopping Center or Garden City Square with all of the anchors. They are located essentially on the periphery of the built-up area of the city. There are a number of dealers in that area. But beyond the dealerships, you're essentially looking at development land. So it is essentially the edge of the city there. Let's jump forward to the valuation. Again, none of our comparables have changed. They remain the same. They're shown on pages 16 and 18. I've gone through all of the detail there. What I will point out in particular is my number 12, which on page number 18, the showroom retail comps, number 12, 2535 McPhillips. This is a Shapes Co-ed tenancy built relatively recently, 2006-7, 2016 lease at $11.50 a square foot over a 10-year term. Very significant in size, similar, well, getting closer to the subject in terms of size, 24,367 square feet. This is essentially across the road from these particular dealerships. So 2535 McPhillips, 2400, it's right there. And they are paying $11.50 per square foot. I think the city actually includes that in their evidence as well. They're number 68. So, as stated, all the remainder of our information is the same on both the automotive and the retail side. We're looking at a significant, one of the bigger dealerships in the city at 41, almost 42,000 square feet here. It is in the location, as we've already stated. It is largely built in 2003 with the slight addition of the Cadillac showroom in 2022 for the reasons stated. We have applied an overall rate of $12 per square foot to the subject property. That gives you your potential annual income. We aren't disputing the expenses for the property. I will point out the air conditioning, as shown, is only a portion of the property, indicating that the repair area is not air conditioned. And page 27 adds these two components together, giving us our final rounded ARV of $606,210. The addendum material includes the income and expense, indicating it's fully owner occupied. And the build City of Winnipeg information regarding the construction of the property on my addenda A4 page, as well as our decision from the 2023 cycle indicating it was based on our valuation of the property. That is my evidence. Thank you.
Okay, questions, Mr. Diachin?
My question is just from the previous property to carry over, please. That's all. Thanks.
Okay, Ms. Linklater,
I have no questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. McIntyre.
And I have no questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And we will go next door to 2420 McPhillips. All right, Mr. Diachin, you can begin on 2420 McPhillips.
This one's file number 24-4983, well, here's 2025. The address is 2420 McPhillips Street. The business assessment ID is 40963. You can see on page 1 here that is one premise, 20,303 square feet, at a base ARV per square foot of 1415 a square foot. With the occupancy costs, it brings the total ARV to 337,860. Again, on the bottom of page 1, you can see it is a car dealership. One building built in, or sorry, two buildings built in 2011 to 2019 with effective year built of 2015. Page 2 is just the overhead map view of the property. Page 3 is just the street view of the front of the property. Page 4 is the Border Revision 2025 Realty Order. Again, you can see it was reduced from $4,667,000 to $3,733,000. Page 5 again shows the board's conclusions. It was based on the NOI presented by the Assessment and Taxation Department with a cap rate of 7.25%. Again, on page 6 forward here are my VCD comparables. Again, mainly looking at 61 to 72, the Leland McPhillips comparables, with the average being 1515, weighted average 1451, and a median of 1350. Again, pages 11 forward are just the applicant's information from the Board Revision 2025. You can see that they applied 1250. We're at 15, so we're relatively close again. And then pages 15 and forward are just the income and expense mailers. And that's my witness. Thank you.
Questions, Mr. Smith?
Just the same questions as before. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. McIntyre,
I have no questions, thank you.
Ms. Linklater.
I have no questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mr. Smith, your presentation then.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So 2420 McPhillips Street, we're looking at the Hyundai dealership in that area of the city. The background on the property on my page number 3. So you can see the 2025 realty was reduced. We have appealed that decision to the municipal board. And the remainder of the information is there for you. 2023 realty assessment, which we've included in the addenda, was based on our valuation of the property, which is in line with what we're doing in this cycle and treated in exactly the same way. That is in the addenda material for you to review. Property originally built in 2011 with minor addition in 2019. We have a total of 3 acres here and a total overall area of 20,303 square feet, of which 2,500 square feet is mezzanine, but not built out mezzanine, essentially. If you look at the photo of the property on the front, it's not this tall building. They don't have that finished mezzanine that some of these facilities have. Anyway, looking at page number 4, here again are our photos from my inspection. Exterior photos on pages 4 and on to 5, and then we have the showroom on page 5. You can essentially see all of it there from that vantage point. Page number 6 is again elements of the showroom from different perspectives. You have the finance offices at the back. The brand forced some updating to finishes for the property owner. Essentially, relatively new finishes were replaced with their new look. This happens on occasion with these brands where they have a new look that they want presented, and they force their owners into doing them. Having represented quite a number of owners in this automotive dealership sphere now for a while, it doesn't drive any more business. Having different look, different tile doesn't change their sales. Essentially, they see no impact from this, so that should also be kept in mind. It's not something that's a big driver of business, and frankly, it's not a lot different than the other ones that we're looking at. It's just it's not aging. Then we get into service area on to page 8, you can see, it looks like all other service areas essentially. And we can get into, the site itself. It's shown to be on the corner of Templeton and McPhillips. 2420 is our address. That comp that I mentioned before, 2535, is essentially immediately across the street from this subject property at a rate of $11.50 a square foot. The location shown on page 11. Our comparables remain exactly the same as they were. And I will take you forward to my page number 25. So we have increased the rental rate to $12.50 a square foot for the subject property here. You can see the size of the property. It is a little bit newer. So we've reflected that in the overall higher rental rate at $12.50 a square foot. To that, we add the expenses on page number 27, which gives us our final rounded ARV of $304,350 rounded. The addenda includes the 2023 decision based on our valuation and the other standard addenda materials. That is my presentation. Thank you.
Questions, Mr. Diachin?
No new questions, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Linklater,
I have no questions, thank you.
Mr. McIntyre?
And I have no questions, thank you.
Okay, just to comment, Mr. Smith, if we accept your valuation, the final value will be 304,380 to make it evenly divisible by 12.
Certainly.
All right. No, I'm on the second last page of my notebook. Getting the workout today or this year. 2610 McPhillips. Yes, my pen is running out of ink too. Okay. Mr. Diachin, you can begin.
Okay, this one is file number 244998. Roll year is 2025. The address is 2610 McPhillips Street. Business assessment ID is 39791. You can see on page 1, it is one premise, 38,616 square feet at a base ARV per square foot at 1307 a square foot. With the occupancy cost brings the annual rental value to $609,000. The bottom of page 2, you can see that this is a dealership, 2 buildings built in 2010. Page 2 is just the exterior view of the property. Page 3 is just an overhead view of the subject. Page 4 is just the map view of the subject as well. Again, page 5 is the border revision order from the 2025 realty. Again, looking, it was reduced from $7,664,000 to $6,554,000. Page 6, again, is the board's conclusions, and it is based on the NOI presented by the Assessment and Taxation Department with a cap rate of 7.25%. Again, looking on pages 7-4 are the VCD comparables. Again, we are looking at mainly the comparables 61 to 72, the Leland McPhillips ones. Again, they are averaging at 1515 a square foot with a weighted average of 1451 and a median of 1350 a square foot. Again, on pages 14, 15, 16, 17 are the applicant's information from the border revision 2025 realty. You can see on page 15 that they applied a $12.50 rental rate, $12.50, and we are at 1307. So again, very, very close on rental rate. And then pages 16 and forward are the income and expense mailers, and that is my evidence. Thank you.
Okay, questions, Mr. Smith?
Just to carry forward my questions from before. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. McIntyre?
I have no questions, thank you.
Ms. Linklater?
I just have one question. Mr. Dychen, page 13 of your brief, the municipal board findings.
Mhm.
Sorry, and you may have mentioned this, but is there a date on that?
This one is from 2003, I believe it is.
Okay, and it has not been updated at all, to the best of your knowledge.
Not that I know of, but I can't really speak to it too much.
Okay, I thank you. That's all my questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so Mr. Smith, your presentation then?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, just to speak quickly to, that last question there. Yes, that, that decision was from 2003. The only other auto dealership to have gone through, the municipal board in recent time was done in 2004, as I discussed, earlier. So those are the two decisions that, have come out of the municipal board in the last, well, we're going on 25 years now. 20 plus years. 2610 McPhillips Street. What I'm going to do to start with is just direct you to the city's page number 3. This is an excellent illustration of the 60-40 split that or 70-30 split, whatever it ends up being for the individual dealerships, but the 60% of the building being automotive service and 40% of it being showroom retail. If you look at the build out of this particular property, you can see the hard line on the roof line essentially of the division between the front and the rear of the property. You have showroom retail on the front, automotive service at the back. Yes, there is some I believe there is some minor mezzanine area in this, but it's not that entire additional second level that you can see there, which you'll see from our photos of the property. Most of it is just higher ceiling in the automotive showroom. But that clearly illustrates the split that I was discussing. All right, 2610 McPhillips Street. This is the Honda dealership in the McPhillips area. Pardon me. Frontage photo gives you a good view from the street of McPhillips, and the property was built in 2010. So 2025 realty, yes, it was reduced. We did appeal that to the municipal board. 2023 realty assessment is shown there for you as well, reduced from 8,273,000 to 5,722,000 based on our valuation, which I've included in the addenda materials for the subject property. Zone C2 sitting on 4.9 acres, and we have a little bit more land here in terms of land to plan area ratio at 5.73 to 1, but still certainly not optimal for the subject property, and they do have to store vehicles off site. Our total leasable area is 38,616 square feet. The photos begin on page 4. One of the frontage, one of the exterior of the service area. You can see the overhead doors. Then we get into the showroom on page number 5. Clear, you can see it's open to the deck there. We're not looking at mezzanine area. Then we get into more showroom, some of the supportive office area on page number 6, parts area. So page 7 and the remainder of the automotive service on page 7, 8, and 9. And that is what the property looks like. I have the same aerial the site as shown on page 10. And if you notice, the subject property is bordered by vacant land to the north of it. That's also shown on page 11, although it's a little harder to see given the height of that particular photo. Anyway, this property is essentially at the edge of the development of the city. What you're looking at on the north side of that is going to be the extension of Chief Pegulas. So there's not an interchange that is planned particularly for there or anything like that. So the property is going to be ultimately bounded by a major through thoroughfare that will have no exits or access to it, which is not particular benefit to it. Moving on, page 11 again gives you the location. Our comparables and the city's comparables remain exactly the same for the subject property. The subject is a little bit newer, again, built in 2010. You can see that from the layout and finish of the property, etc. We have reflected that in our overall valuation using the rental rate of $12.50 per square foot for the entire property, as indicated on my page 25. So again, it is a larger property at 38,000+ square feet, but we have applied a rental rate of $12.50. Moving on to page 26. I'm not disputing that for today, as I don't have the specific measurements, but what I will point out is that the entire property is not air conditioned. As you've noticed from the other properties, the only air conditioned area is the showroom and the associated office service area. The automotive service areas are not air conditioned. So the city has down air conditioning for the full property. I can tell you that it's not air conditioned. I just don't have the figure of what the square footage should be. So if the city could look into changing that particular aspect, that would be appreciated. Adding those expenses to the overall annual rental income gives us our final estimate of ARV rounded at $586,960. We've included the 2023 board revision order as well as our brief indicating how that came up. Now, that was developed by Mr. Story, but you can see the decision that was taken there. That is my presentation. Thank you.
Any questions, Mr. Diachin?
No new questions, thank you.
Okay, Mr. McIntyre,
I have no questions, thank you.
Ms. Linklater.
I just have one question, and I just would like to redirect to the assessor.
Okay,
Mr. Deitchen, I'm just asking this question out of curiosity. This is not so your briefs are model driven, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So is the model not taking into consideration the air conditioning issue? Just because this keeps coming up, and that's
Like,
it's saying that the whole building is air conditioned, which it isn't. The body shop portion isn't. So
well,
I'm just
whenever this was put on, I'm assuming on the plans it would have maybe said that it was air conditioning. We are looking into it and we'll have to inspect it because we can't, like, I'm not sure if they all have or sorry, I shouldn't say that. I'm not sure if they all don't have air conditioning in it. Maybe some do. But just to say that they all don't have, I don't think is something I could say right now. But it is something we are looking into.
okay. I'm asking this question just because this came up last cycle also. So
Oh, did it? Oh, okay, I wasn't aware. I wasn't doing them. But it is something I mentioned to my supervisor, and it is something we are looking into. So
okay.
Clayton, maybe what I'll do is, sorry to interject, but I might send you an email with the properties that have that issue, just to put it all in one email.
yeah, and then we'll just have to have someone go there and check them out, and then go from there. But
All
that's
right.
all I can really say to it.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Deitchen.
Thanks.
That's all my questions, Mr. Chair.
all right. So let's move on then to our final property, which is 3690 Portage. So, Mr. Diachin, you can begin.
Yeah. This one is file number 24-4996. The roll year is 2025. The address is 3690 Portage Avenue. Business assessment ID is 29661. You can see there's one premise, 7,300 square feet at a ARV or base ARV per square foot of $13.41. With the occupancy costs, it brings it to $116,400. Again, on the bottom of page 1, you can see it is a car dealership, 2 buildings built in 1988. On page 2, you can see the overhead map view of the property. And then page 3 is just the exterior view of the front of the subject. And then page 4 is the board of revision order. You could see that it was reduced from $2,153,000 to $1,317,000. On page 5, you can see the board's conclusion. Conclusions, the decision is based on the NOI presented by the Assessment Taxation Department with a cap rate of 7%. And then continue on again, my comparables, my VCD rent comparables are on pages 7 and forward. Again, this time we're looking more at the Portage ones, the comparables ranging from 73 to 80. You can see that they're very close. 3647 Portage is very close to the subject. And you can see that the average for this group of comparables is 1778 a square foot with a weighted average of 1708 a square foot, and with the median being 1738 a square foot. Again, on pages 12, 13, 14, 15 are the applicant's information. You can see they applied, it looks like 1250 a square foot. We're at 1341. Again, once again, very close in rental rate. And then the remainder is just the income and expense mailers. And that is my evidence. Thank you.
Any questions, Mr. Smith?
Just one, Mr. Chair. So with the new focus on Portage Avenue there, so we're looking at numbers, comparable numbers 73 through 80 is what you focused on, correct?
I would say that those are the closest to the subject property, yes.
Okay, and 73 through 78, these are all located on the Walmart anchored former Unicity mall site, correct?
I'm not 100% sure about that.
Okay, those are all my questions. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Linklater, questions?
I have no questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. McIntyre?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay, so your presentation, Mr. Smith.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, as I had mentioned earlier, the property owner and owner of the dealership are one and the same. It is a Mazda dealership and owner occupied, obviously. The brand that they represent, Mazda, given the size of this particular location, 7,300 square feet, which doesn't meet today's needs for a full service auto dealership. They insisted that the dealership owner locate in essentially immediate surrounding area another facility for automotive service and repair and collision, as the subject facility was not large enough to meet all of their needs. If they weren't able to do so, then they would lose their rights to sell Mazda, essentially. So that is the background. They were forced into it, as the city had presented in their rebuttal information on 3680 Portage. They were forced into an above market rental rate of $15 a square foot at 3680 Portage Avenue, which is immediately adjacent to this. That is a former used automotive dealership. The owner there was aware of this situation and was able to charge and acknowledged by all parties well above market rental rate for that facility. So the $15 is not what one would achieve on the market in a normal situation, nor should it be interpreted as such in order to value either that property or this property. If you look at appraisal theory, undue economic influence, etc., clearly invalidates leases of that type, as the city knows as well. Looking at the subject property, 3690 Portage Avenue, again, it's a Mazda dealership, 7,300 square feet in size. It is significantly undersized for the market. Typically, it would be a used auto dealer at this point in time, but it's not at this point for the reasons described. If you look at my page number 3, you have the background for the property. 2025 realty was reduced from 2,153,000 to 1,317,000, and I don't know if that was included in the addenda or not. In fact, I don't see it. I'm not sure why. That's an error on my part. We did appeal that to the municipal board. 2023 realty was reduced from 1,717,000 to 1,046,000 based on our valuation, which is included in the addenda. The rental rate there was $12.50 a square foot. We're really not going to be seeing a difference between that time frame and now. Built in 1988, so it is certainly an older dealership. And again, the leasable area 7,300 square feet. The overall land area for the property is certainly undersized at just over an acre in size. Photos begin on page 4, a couple of the exteriors, then we get into the interior. You have the showroom. This has not been updated. That's exactly what it looks like. On the right-hand side of the bottom photo on page 5, you can see kind of the fabric cubicles that are used for sales and financing. Better image on page 6, actually, as well as the lounge area for clients or the waiting area. And then we get into supportive office on page number 7. And then into the automotive service section of the property, which is shown on page number 8. So it does have a full automotive service area, as do the other dealerships. But the overall area of the dealership as a whole is not large enough, which is why the ownership was forced into leasing the adjacent building at that rate, above market rate discussed. The remainder of our information remains the same. What I will point out on my page number 15 is that 3680 Portage, so the property that was leased by the same operating entity, same ownership. Immediately beside this, 7,200 square feet in size, my comp number 13 on page 15. Was used auto sales. It's been a variety of used auto dealers over time. None of them seem to last terribly long in that location. We have a 2017 lease for 4 years there at a rate of $12.50 a square foot. Now, I really don't see that going up for this particular building for the reasons discussed. It is too small for the market. And they've been told such by the Mazda brand themselves. All of our comps remain the same. We've approached it in the same manner. We've accounted for the smaller size in applying the rental rate of $12.50 a square foot. Keep in mind, it's a building from 1988 as well. If you look at the expenses for the property, they were shown on page 25. I'm sorry, I think I skipped over the rental rate. I applied $12.50 a square foot to the subject. I think it's debatable whether they would achieve that now, but we have applied that. Adding the resultant annual rental income at $12.50 a square foot to the expenses gives us a rounded ARV of $109,750. The addenda is there for you to review if you wish. And that is my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, questions, Mr. Diogen?
No new questions, thank you.
Okay, Mr. McIntyre,
I have no questions, thank you.
Ms. Linklater.
I also have no questions. Thank you.
All right, so we've now heard all items on today's agenda, so this hearing is now adjourned. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your capable presentations.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you
Thank
both.
you very much.
Everyone. Appreciate your time.
Great.